Hi everybody, it's Gemma. Welcome back to Pampered Wolf. For all of you who sent beautiful, kind, warm birthday wishes for me last weekend for my 40th birthday, thank you so much. Every single one of you is greatly appreciated. I felt all warm and fuzzy inside. It was so beautiful. Everybody that was involved in my 40th birthday had an absolute blast. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have been part of the 40th birthday fun, from opening presents to going to the football match, to going go-karting, to having a party at my house, to going to the spa the day after, feeling a little bit worse for wear, but it was the best place to be. Everybody just had the most amazing time, so thank you for being a part of it. Now let's crack on with this video, because today we are going to be reviewing, swatching, and doing an eye look with the brand new Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. This is the most stunning palette, both outside and in. If you like goldy coloured eyeshadows, this palette is definitely going to be for you. This is £42 in the UK, $49 in the US. Let me open this and show you what it actually looks like. Absolutely stunning. I am obsessed with this palette. I've done a few swatches on the back of my arm for everybody to look at. Let's just zoom in on that and we'll have a look at this palette in a little bit more depth. Okay, so this is the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. You get 12 golden neutral shadows. This palette is going to suit absolutely everybody, whether you've got blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, slightly orangey eyes. If you've got a cool golden complexion, this is going to look absolutely stunning on your skin tone. So we've got classic golds in here, we've got warm ambers, we've got rich chocolate browns. There are 5 metallic shimmers in here, 6 mattes, 1 more slightly satin matte finish. So let's just go through the colours. From left to right, we have Flyby, which is more of a satin matte. We've got Sweet, which is a matte shade, another matte shade, which is Swarm, a metallic, which is Amber, another matte, which is Keeper, another metallic, Golden, the honey shade, which is the staple shadow of this palette, which is an absolutely beautiful glistening metallic shimmer in honey. And then we've got another metallic called Queen, another matte Hive, another matte Drip, another metallic which is HBIC, and another matte which is Sting, and a beautiful neutral chocolate brown. These are all absolutely fantastic shadows. They are seriously pigmented, but this will also be a really beginner friendly palette because these blend out superbly well. Really beautiful on the skin. I've tried every single one of these shadows over the weekend. I am completely obsessed with this palette. The only one that takes some building is the signature shade, which is the honey colour. This one is slightly lighter and more shimmery than the other metallics in the palette, so it would probably benefit from being applied with a damp brush or with the end of your finger, which is my preferred method of application for that particular shade. We are going to use that today because how can we not? I mean, it's called the honey palette, so we have to apply the honey shade. You can create lots of different looks with the Naked Honey palette, but it is a very specific color palette. These are all golds and ambers. If you don't like golds and ambers, you need to sidestep this palette and go for something a little bit more versatile, like the Urban Decay Reloaded palette. There are far more color options in this palette, whereas this one is quite specific, but I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's get on with getting some on the eye. So the only brush I'm going to use for application is the one that actually comes with the palette, which is completely unheard of for me, but I do think that Urban Decay do some great brushes that are included in their palettes. Usually I just chuck those brushes away because they're practically useless, but the ones from Urban Decay, really good quality. Now, if you bought the Naked Reloaded palette, you will notice that the Naked Reloaded palette was a lot thinner, didn't have as much packaging, it was not as dense, not as chunky, and because of that, it did not come with a brush. This one is much more of a chunkier palette, much thicker, and therefore they've got space to actually include a brush within the packaging, which I think is great. Absolutely love that. So we're going to use this brush today. It's got a little bit of a fluffy end blending brush on one end, and it's also got a flat application brush or a smudger on the other end. So I'm going to use this, and I'm also going to use my fingers. Let's first go into the shade Flyby, which is the more satin matte shade, and I'm just going to dust that all over my lid. If you're wondering if I've got an eyeshadow primer on, no, I don't actually have one on today. I've just got foundation on my eyelid, and I've just sealed that in place using a little bit of powder, but just going to put that all over the lid. So really nice shade, but this is the only sort of shimmery matte in the palette, so it's more of a satin matte finish rather than a flat matte finish. Okay, so I'm going to go straight into the shade Sweet, just to use that as my transition shade. It's a really cool toned, very pale, beigey brown, and I'm just going to put that in the crease just as a transition shade. Really beautiful, so easy to blend out. I'm now going to go into one of the more mustardy shades. This is the shade Swarm. Just going to dip exactly the same brush in there and just going to go on the outer corner and then blend that in to the crease. I adore this shade. It just gives your eye a beautiful pop of mustardy, ambery. Oh, it's just such a lovely colour. This is not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I love the fact how Urban Decay come out with palettes that are completely different to one another. They don't look similar to other palettes or other shades in other palettes that they've brought out previously, which I do find that Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes sometimes they do bring out different colour palettes that are identical to ones that they brought out in previous palettes before, which I've never quite understood, which is why I don't own every single Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, even though I think that they are really nice. So that is an absolutely gorgeous shade. Let's deepen that up a little bit with the shade Keeper, and I'm just going to go again on that outer edge. This is slightly more of an amber tone than a mustard. It's a beautiful rusty amber shade. Just stunning, absolutely stunning. So I'm going to deepen up that edge a little bit using the shade Drip. And I'm just going to place that right on the outer corner just to add a little bit more dimension. There is really no need to use 10,000 colours in an eye look, but I am trying to show you as many colours as I possibly can, just so you can see how they all apply to the eye. I am going to do another eye look on Instagram, so if you want to see another eye look with this palette, then do check out Instagram tomorrow. That should be on there tomorrow for everybody, just to have a look at what else you can create with this palette. Let's use a little bit of Sting just to deepen up the outer edge even more. Still using exactly the same brush. Tapping off all the excess because these are super pigmented. I actually find that they're a little bit more pigmented than the Naked Reloaded palette, which I thought you had to build up a little bit more. These ones, not so much. So as you can see with the darker shades, the Drip and the Sting one there, I have had a little bit of fallout. I am going to have to clean that up. So I'm just going to take a little tissue and just wipe that clean for now, and then I'll go in with a little bit of concealer. So these darker shades, if you put too much on your brush, which I think I must have done, do fall just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to clean off my brush just onto a clean tissue and then just make sure that all those colours are nicely blended together before I apply the lid surface colour. Really nice. Okay, so I'm actually going to apply 2 surface lid colours, and the reason being is because, like I said earlier on, this one, Honey, does take some building, so I'm actually going to apply it on top of a different colour. So we're going to use the shade Golden, which is a beautiful metallic shimmer. I'm going to apply that with my finger just all over the lid. I find if you apply it with your finger, you get far less fallout with the metallic shimmers. And then let's apply the signature shadow, which is the Honey shadow. This has a little bit of an iridescent shimmer to it. It is the most beautiful shadow. Just wow. Really, really stunning. And I'm going to apply that right in the center just to give the center of the lid a real pop. So again, just cleaning it off my brush with a tissue, I'm going to go straight in for the lower lash line to the shade Swarm, which is that beautiful mustardy brown shade. And I'm going to use the opposite end of the brush as it's just a little bit smaller. And just going to drag that all the way underneath the lash line. I really love this colour. In different lights it can look yellow or amber or more orange. It's just a really beautiful shade. Then I'm just going to deepen up the outer just a tiny weeny bit more just with the shade Drip. Just on that very, very outer corner. Just really, really beautiful. I'm going to take the other side of the brush, which is the fluffy end, just make sure that that is completely clean on a tissue with no shadow left on there at all. And I'm just going to go around the outer circumference of the shadow just to make sure that everything is blended in and there are no harsh lines. And then I'm going to go off camera and apply a little bit of mascara and I'll be right back. So this is the final look. I am in love with this palette. It has every single colour in here that I am absolutely obsessed with. Just such beautiful shades. I think the only thing that I would change in this entire palette, there are a couple of things. So I would make the shade Flyby a little bit less chalky, and possibly make that a flat matte shade as well, because I don't think it's necessary to have a satin matte in this palette. It's just not needed. And then also the signature shade Honey. I wish that this shade was a little bit creamier and less dry, because it's the only one of the metallic shadows that's actually quite dry, so it's harder to build and there's more fallout when you use this shade than is actually necessary. If it was just a little bit creamier, it would just be easier to work with. As beautiful a shade as it is, they are the only two things about this entire palette that I would alter. I think it's a stunning palette. I think it is worth the amount of money that you pay for it, especially because you now get a brush with this palette, which is a really lovely brush, vegan, and both these products are cruelty-free. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Like I said, I am going to post another couple of looks on Instagram using this palette. So if you want to see those looks, please make sure you are also following me on Instagram. It's at Pampered Wolf, all lowercase, no spaces. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. There is a watermark in this corner. If you click on it, it will take you through to my homepage where you can subscribe. I upload on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 PM London time, but don't forget to click on that notification bell so you get notified every single time I do a new upload, because I do tend to make make mistakes every now and again and upload on the wrong day. I'm not quite sure why that is a thing for me at the moment, but it does happen. Make sure you've also gone into the settings on YouTube and made sure your notification settings are turned on. Hope to see you all in the next video. Bye.